ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the last and 29th session of this conference. During this session, we will first talk about the special issue in the journal Energy Policy. Then Dr. Xianli Rotmann will have a reflection of the conference, the last 3 days. And Irmeli will talk about the next, looking ahead. And also we'll have concluding remarks from Gabriela, my colleague Gabriela. First, we'll hear from Dr. Stéphane Goutte. Stéphane, you start to upload your slides while I introduce you. We always say one PhD is hard, but Stéphane thinks that's not enough. He has 2 PhDs, one in mathematics and one in economics. He is a full professor at Certif University Paris-Saclay, France. He's adjunct professor at University of Calgary, Canada. He received his habilitation for supervising scientific research in 2017 at University Paris-Dauphine. He's an editor of Energy Policy Journal and several other journals. His interests lie in the area of mathematical finance and econometric applied in energy or commodities. He has published 50 research papers in various journals and has been guest editor for various special issues of international peer-reviewed journals and editors of many handbooks. So, Stéphane, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for this invitation or for this introduction. It's a pleasure for me to talk with you about energy policy for this talk. I think you can see my slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just prepared only one slide. Okay, I would just have some words about the special issue to give some useful advice and maybe to reply to some question about possible submission of presenter here. So okay, so as you know, there is a special issue at this conference. So first of all, the main point is that the 3 guest editor will have all authority, okay, to select paper or to process to the review process. So all decision will be done by the guest editor. Me, I am just here to ensure that the equity and the process of reviewing function well, and to just validate at the end that the selected paper rely well to the scope of the special issue. Okay, so for all decision and for all review process, of course, guest editor will be the guest and the editor of the special issue. Okay. Just some point why a special issue could be useful for you and why choosing energy policy journal. So I think you know that energy policy is one of the major journals in terms of energy, and especially in policy and recommendation topics related to energy supply or use, and impact factor is quite great, and we have more than 5 now. And if just think about, I just yesterday extract some information about where we are in 2021, just in 23 April, just to give you some argument of the top level of the journal. Okay, we received yet more than 1,000 submissions since the beginning of this year. So this means that we will have more than 4,000 submissions at the end. So imagine that it's a lot of job and a lot of work to do. And just to give you some percentage of first decision, okay? When people submit to energy policy, near 70% are rejected by guest editor. So by my colleague and I, we reject more than 70% of paper without any review, okay? We have a hard selection at the beginning, because after, as you know, doing a review process takes a lot of time, and it's time consuming for everyone. So we adopt the fact that we take the decision to have a hard rate of destructurization. Okay, so this is a good point for you, because when you submit to a special issue, okay, you already presented your paper to the conference, so the guest editor know well your paper and your presentation. So it's like a fast track publication. It doesn't mean that you will be accepted easily. No, it means that you will be sure that guest editor know well your paper, and so they can assign you good reviewer on specific in your topics. Because the main difficulty when you are an editor is to find good reviewer will do our job good and in not a long time process. So of course I suggest people who have a paper, a presentation in the topic of this specialist to submit it. Okay, it will be easier for you to publish. Regarding the sort or the kind of paper you can submit. Okay, in a special issue, normally you submit a full research paper, but it's possible to submit some review article or so research note articles or short paper. It's possible. It's by the decision of the guest editor. Okay, if the guest editor thinks that the improvement of the special issue given this kind of paper is good, okay, we will follow the decision of the guest editor. Okay. So, okay, I have no more thing to do. Okay, maybe if you have some question, you can ask me now, or I put here my personal email. So if you would like to send me email after for question regarding this special issue or regarding energy policy in general, or okay, you can send me email, and I will reply with pleasure. So I'll let you talk now if you want.
Stéphane, there's one question. Could you please give example or define what you mean by behavioral issue and how many papers will be expected?
Okay. So for behavioral insight, it means that you have to. If this is for this special issue, in fact, okay, it's one of the topic of the special issue. It means that you have to think that for the special issue, the guest editor wants a paper who highlight some behavior of the energy market and the energy structure. Okay, so this means that you have to have some discussion about the meaning of your research in terms of energy and the highlight on the recommendation you can give. Okay, so I think if you don't think that if you don't know if your paper follow well this special issue, the main point is to contact the guest editor and ask them, okay, if it's good or not, and they will give you the best response regarding the topics. Regarding the how many papers will be accepted, it will depend. Okay, namely, it's more between 10 and 15. But if the selection given by the guest editor at the end to me, it's 20 paper. Okay, I can accept 20 paper. Okay, the main point is that all paper have to justify a well review process and improve the quality of the special issue. Each paper have to improve the quality. So if there is two correlated paper, okay, I will ask the guest editor to make a decision, okay. But namely, there's no problem. I ensure too that with Elsevier, we ensure that there is a geographical repartition too. This means that we don't want only paper focused on a specific area or specific geographic area. Okay, we would like to have a large a wide submission. Okay, that's why we asked to the editor to open the submission to other possible paper which can come from non-participant of this conference. But participant of this conference will be at first in the review process.
Okay, there's another question to you about the literature review paper. We prioritize papers based on new research, new experiment. What about the literature review papers?
I think literature review paper could be accepted to as a special issue too. For example, it could be good for a special issue to have 1 or 2 literature review at the beginning of the special issue to include the topics, to give some main issues, the main as a kind of state of the art of the topics. So it could be good. Could be good. It could be good. Yes, could be good. But namely, most of the paper will have to be full research paper, of course. But we can have 1 or 2 literature review or one research note paper or something like that. It's okay.
Okay, thanks a lot for the clarification. So we will move on to the next speaker, Sia, Dr. Sia Rotmann. Sia, can you regarding this special issue, we have 3 guest editors, Professor Mundaka from Lund University and Professor Marcus from the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. They are both very experienced in this area, and we will try to be fair and transparent to everyone and follow the journal's guidance and do the peer review properly to be fair for all papers. For Sia, I think Sia have a very impressive CV. She has a PhD in marine ecology and environmental studies, and she has worked for the New Zealand Energy Authority before, and now she has her own consultants company called Sustainable Energy Advice Limited. It's also the same C as her name. And she runs Task 24 on demand-side energy management for behavior change, turn behavior change into demand-side energy management at IEA's task force. And also recently work on hard to reach energy users, another task force. And she has been very active in behavior conferences. I must say, I really appreciate her special help. She's based in New Zealand. We are 2 in the afternoon. For her, it's 2 in the morning. For the last the 3 days, she has been really very helpful. Moderator sessions, speaking at different sessions. I really appreciate. Sia, now the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Kia ora. It's not quite as bad as you making it out because we have winter time and you get summertime, so it's only midnight here. As one of the biggest fans of the Behave conferences and probably the person who emitted the most greenhouse gases by far over the years attending it, I'm really, really stoked that you have asked me to give this closing plenary. Thank you so much. And as I am talking to you from the future, at midnight in Aotearoa, it is now officially the weekend, so I want to raise my glass of wine to the organizers, the European Energy Network, the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency, the Behave Committee, all the speakers and presenters, and of course, all of you attendees. And I had to trial that a few times, of course, preparing for my conference presentation. So I thought I would walk down a little bit history lane with the help of the advanced Twitter search function, because anyone who knows me and behavioral conferences knows that I'm the biggest Twitter out there. And I want to reflect some impressions of this year's virtual conference. And from my exalted position of living in the future in Aotearoa, I would like to give some ideas of where I think the Behave community and our research could go. So I didn't attend the inaugural 2009 conference in the Netherlands. I unfortunately have no images from there, but I've attended every conference since Helsinki. And as I said, it's by far my favorite behavior and energy conference in the world. Sorry, Beck conference. It took a little while to settle on the capitalization and the logo, but this conference has always been unabashedly European, highlighting world-class behavior research and researchers, and most of all, it's been a lot of fun. So what I remember most from Helsinki in 2012 is the awesome organization by Irmeli and Päivi and the team at Motiva, the fabulous venue, the really inspiring speakers, and a much greater focus on design, feedback, and field testing of behavioral insight than what I was used to from other conferences. I came straight from my first Burning Man in the Black Rock Desert to Oxford University in 2014. That was a bit of a culture shock. I really loved the 2014 conference in the UK. There was a lot of emphasis on innovative design, on storytelling, and the need to focus on wider societal and not just individualistic behaviors, and to look beyond economics and engineering disciplines when doing energy efficiency. The theme continued in beautiful Coimbra in Portugal in 2016. I again flew in straight from Burning Man. There's a bit of a theme there as well. The amazing Marta Lopez and her team did a brilliant job organizing the conference. The focus on the human aspect of energy efficiency came through loud and clear. And as always, I learned something fascinating and new from my friend Veronika Tiefenbeck this time. Zurich 2018 again was wonderfully organized, a great venue. Ted Hart did amazing, and it was the first conference I brought my US national expert to, and it was really good seeing Behave through her eyes. She's been going through the big American conferences like the Behavior, Energy and Climate Change BEC conference or ACEEE Summer Study for years. And she was really impressed by the diversity of topics, by the different country insights, the many charming accents, the totally different and often very creative ideas, and much less focus again on individualistic approaches to behavior change than what she was used to. However, as with many of us non-social science trained researchers, the wonkery sometimes can be a little bit intimidating. What I love about Behave is that I have been running workshops associated with it, first for Task 24 and now at this conference for the Hard to Reach Energy Users task. And I've gotten so much great feedback from the European researchers, and the insights and support have really honestly made our research much better. And I can only recommend everyone take advantage of this resource. And it was really good to see in this Behave that a lot of you have in the special sessions. Obviously, what else can I say? Why I love Behave, the stunning locations all over Europe, the joy of visiting these beautiful old towns from a new country like New Zealand, even as an ex-European, never ceases to amaze me, and I very much wish I could have come back to Copenhagen this time. And I have to say also what I really love is the food, the amazing dinners, the receptions, of course, the wine, and then the coffee the next day. What I love most about Behave is the people. I've met some of my favorite behavior change research collaborators and friends for life at the Behave conference. We had some amazing times. And this is, of course, something that we're missing this year. And that brings me to the present, to the great job that the team has done running this virtually, that every one of you has done attending this virtually, and still being motivated and engaged and a part of it. I think we had a great conference. I would raise my glass again, but I should probably stop drinking now. And we know how many more technical challenges there are when you're organizing virtual conferences, and you've all done a really marvelous job marshalling all of us through this week. So congratulations. This year, I have noted a lot more focus on sufficiency, on energy poverty, on hard to reach energy users, which is my research topic, on gender and energy, the call for more collaboration, and of course, the impacts of COVID on energy users. And this is leading me into the future now, which is what is the role of Behave and behavioral science going forward? And I think this cartoon says a lot about what we're facing if we don't take the extremely tough lessons that this little monster virus has taught us seriously. I think we're going to have a much harder time dealing with the bigger issues that we are facing. in the very near future. I don't need to hit this home too much with this audience, I think, but I am actually quite stunned how much of a failure the COVID response was, particularly in the northern hemisphere and the Western countries. Here is the initial risk assessment from the countries before as COVID started. You can see particularly the US, Canada, Sweden, the UK, where you had some of the strongest health systems and health infrastructures. And then, of course, a month ago, here are the per capita death statistics. And those countries have some of the highest per capita COVID deaths. And I don't want to be too on the nose here, but I think there are some pretty obvious reasons why that may have been the case. The more authoritarian, macho, right-wing, nationalistic and boomer-led a country was, the more likely it led to culture wars over masks, over social distancing, over lockdown, over vaccinations. And we now know from the research that this has culminated in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of excess and unavoidable deaths. And that is a true tragedy that I hope we won't repeat with future pandemics or climate change or other crises. From New Zealand, which you may know is regarded as one of the countries that has done the best in its COVID response. We have eliminated the virus from the get-go. We had the strictest lockdown for 6 weeks last year, and really hardly any lockdowns ever since, just a couple of short ones in Auckland. As soon as a single case turned up in the community, we locked down our biggest city for a couple of weeks, and then everyone else carried on. And that has worked. This message to our team of 5 million, as Jacinda called us, which was laughed at by right-wing trolls here and overseas, did actually save our country. I truly believe that. Our government foresaw that the 10,000 projected deaths would completely overwhelm our healthcare system, which isn't as good and wasn't as prepared as some of the other countries. And so we decided to go this way. Another person who really saved our country is this amazing lady, my mermaid-haired fellow scientist, Dr. Susie Wiles, who did the most amazing job in science communication, and her work with a top cartoonist in our country has been praised by the UN and has gone around the world, and she deservedly won the New Zealander of the Year award just recently. Another thing that came out in New Zealand was that the COVID pandemic actually had a lot of positive effects as well. 2/3 of Kiwis that were surveyed claimed to have gained benefits from the lockdown and the pandemic, from post-traumatic growth to resilience to more family cohesion, a greater appreciation for nature, lack of noise and air pollution, etc. Unfortunately, as soon as we went back to less stringent lockdowns, which was last May, we also went back to driving our cars and flying our planes, albeit only domestically. And so this is a lesson that we should probably keep in mind. I thought I'd also share a couple of personal lessons from the pandemic. I'm blessed and privileged to live in a house on the beach in Wellington with these best sunsets. But I'm also living right next to the airport runway of the capital of New Zealand. And what I really realized during lockdown was how much the noise and air pollution affected me. And when it came back at level 3, my stress and anxiety levels increased as well. And I am one of the most privileged people in the world and have seen what that difference was. I can't even imagine what it was like for people who were in much worse situations during lockdown or afterwards. What I've done with this lesson is I listened finally to my mother, and I sold my beach house and retreat from the coast and sea level rises, and I bought 35 hectares of land in the most remote place in New Zealand, literally at the end of the road, the northernmost settlement on the South Island, and I'm going to build an eco community there and plant a lot of native trees and restore a wetland. And instead of just fighting bad things like the airport runway extension, I'm going to try and grow something good. And that is my lesson from both the pandemic and how to deal with climate change on a personal level. I hope you guys can visit me there sometimes. We can plant some trees to offset the greenhouse gases. I do want to make a couple of links between COVID and the climate crisis because they are obviously there. Nearly 75% of all new diseases and epidemics are zoonotic. They are because of habitat destruction and because of destroying wildlife. The health inequity is vast in on our globe, and I fear that some of the nationalistic approaches to the vaccinations will lead to vaccine apartheid, which is only going to make the continuation of this pandemic and future pandemics worse, and is also not boding well for how we're going to respond as a globe to the climate crisis and ecosystem collapse. Lack of access to water, sanitation, and hygiene, that includes energy access, is still a problem for large parts of the world. And because of COVID, this massive increase in vulnerable population also means that they become harder to reach due to conflicting priorities. And we really need to look beyond individual behavior change into systems change, because human health and planetary health are completely interconnected. And if we don't address the bigger environmental problems, we will increase the health crisis as well. And some of the concerns that are specific to our community, I think, is we have now shown that behavior change and behavioral science is hugely important. We have just really conducted the largest ever behavior change experiment in the history of the world. Most of the initial responses were about individual behavior changes, from washing hands to wearing masks to social distancing to sticking to lockdowns to getting vaccinated. The usefulness of behavioral science and social science, specifically in messaging and communicating to our audiences, has become really clear. Also, the importance of trust in science and trusted messengers like public health officials. We had Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, who became an absolute legend in New Zealand, similarly to how Dr. Fauci was seen in the beginning of the pandemic in the States. And then unfortunately, he was a little bit undermined. And that is, we've seen the big impacts of what happens when this trust in scientists and science and public health officials gets undermined for political reasons or whatever reasons, and it leads to mass death, which is a terrible thing, a tragedy that could be avoided. There are, of course, a lot of benefits of energy efficiency and conservation way beyond kilowatt hours that do also help support the recovery from this pandemic, the resilience, particularly around health, particularly around respiratory health. There's a lot of learnings we need to make about our building stock and how that affects, of course, the health and the relation to energy efficiency. And we all know that embedding long-term behavioral persistence and actual systems change is really, really, really hard to do. And so the transition to a truly just, sustainable energy system is really only possible if we treat the structural issues, and if we as energy efficiency and behavior change professionals are not shying away from talking about some of those underlying issues, even though they don't seem to be in our remit, like structural racism, the gender bias or lack of gender data, colonialism. These are the kind of things we actually need to address as a globe. Why behavior change is hard? We still do things in silos all the time. It really doesn't help getting good behavior change work across and to those communities who need it the most, who we regard as hard to reach. The energy efficiency gap and market failures are still there after, 45, 50 years. Behavioral economics has now really become the big buzz. It's even won a Nobel Prize. But other social scientists have been long highlighting the issues when we're designing technologies without understanding the users of those technologies and involving them in the co-design. And between 1990 and 2018, the natural and technical sciences received 770% more funding than the social sciences for research on issues relating to climate change, and only 0.12% of all research funding was spent on the social science of climate mitigation. And I think that is an absolute tragedy as well. We do really need to decouple individual behavior from the wider contexts and systems, and I think the people at Behave are doing a great job at that, but we still need to do more. Our main policy interventions in the world are still focused around the deficit model, this idea that if we only provide information or financing, then people will change their behaviors. That's just based on a wrong understanding of humans, as we know. And so is ignoring the role of habits and routines, particularly in energy, where they make up like 95% of our energy use, and they're particularly hard to change, except for those moments of change. And we just had the world's greatest moment of change and global disruption, and I really think we should use this to our advantage. And so my question is, will we as a community take up the call to truly change? Can we take up this call? If we do, I would like to see more funding and field research collaborations between scientists, policymakers, and practitioners at the next Behave conference. I'd really like to see a stronger focus on energy injustice and inequity and the underlying structural systemic issues that are driving it. And I'd really like to see much more targeted focus on the most and newly vulnerable amongst us, including letting them co-create behavioral interventions. We just had a really great session on how to reach energy users task and used a live polling function to ask participants what they think we should focus on in a hopefully post-COVID world. And one of the issues that came up several times and was actually ranked third highest was the fact that the rich became much more rich during this pandemic, and the middle class is almost disappearing because people are living from paycheck to paycheck, and this pandemic has taken a lot of those paychecks away and caused a lot of issues. And these are a whole group of people who haven't found themselves having to deal with the welfare system in the past, or being regarded as vulnerable or poor or hard to reach. And so the role of stigma really needs to be explored much deeper, because we're going to have a massive problem on our hand. And so I think generally it's time for us, white, middle class, more masculine disciplinary approaches like economics and engineering, to learn how to listen to those who are seldom heard, because they can actually teach us a lot. And I will leave it with that. Thank you so much again. Tina koto, tina tatou katoa.
Thanks a lot, Steve, for the very, a lot of insights about the past. It's a really interesting reflections. Thank you very much. I do not see any questions, but I would really love your speech. Our next speaker will be Irmeli. Irmeli, will you upload your presentation while I introduce you? Irmeli works as a senior expert in the energy efficient unit at Motiva in Finland, and she leads the ENR working group on energy-related behavior change. In the past 14 months since the start of the organization work, I feel almost Irmeli is like a colleague sitting in the next door office. We have so many emails and phone calls to discuss all the various issues, and she's always so supportive. We always feel like we have some problems what to do. Actually, for this conference, we have made exchange many times. We made a budget allocation about lunches, about reception, about coffee breaks. Our secretary books conference rooms in the UN cities several times. Try to make sure we block all the conference rooms so we can accommodate everyone here. Unfortunately, that cannot happen. And during the process, when we have to move this online, also various technical issues, how to reach out in the whole process. Irmeli is so helpful. I really feel like I appreciate working with her to make this conference a reality and make it's a good, well-organized conference. Thank you. Irmeli, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Xianli. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Shea, for the journey on the memory lane of Behave. It was really interesting and quite emotional to see all these Twitter account pictures and all the presentations in the past conferences. I will now lead you through the a little about the ENR, but also the future of Behave conference. As you have heard several times already, ENR has been the initiator of the Behave conference. We have been working on this since, well, I guess we started 2008 to make the conference in 2009 happen. And that was the big role in that was with the RVO in the Netherlands. And our behavior change working group has been working on all these conferences, and especially this conference this week. We have a great team, and also, of course, our presidency and the secretariat and the Troika have been very helpful and have worked long hours to make this happen. But of course, it wouldn't been come happen without Gabriela's and Xianli's and the team's work in Copenhagen. They have been very professional, dedicated, and hardworking, and it's been a pleasure to work with them. And as Sarah already here went through, we have had 5 conferences before that. This is the 6th one, and it was supposed to take place in Copenhagen. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible, but I think we got the best of the conference anyway online also. So it's a learning experience also for all of us, how to do things in a different mode. And we wanted to be able to announce the next conference, where it will be held and who will be in charge of the organization, but unfortunately we can't do that. We don't have that information yet. And I would like to invite any of you who would like to host or co-organize the Behave conference in 2 years' time. We would be very glad to help as a ENR, but also Xianli and Gabriela and their team, they will be assisting also, because it's very important that we kind of pass on the experiences from previous conferences. That has been also with this conference. Markus has been very helpful, as has been Marta. And if you think that you could find a way, please contact me or Irina at the ENR Presidency and Secretariat at ADEM. We'd be very eager to give you further information, and also the organizing team of this conference will be helpful in that respect. And I would like to thank you all the speakers and all the moderators, all the participants or presenters attending this conference on behalf of the ENR, and I look forward to seeing you in the forthcoming Behave conference. Whatever the destination will be, we don't know, but I'm sure many of us will be there, and looking forward to that event also. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Irmeli. A lot of definitely for after this conference, we have the email list. Because of GDPR, we cannot share the email list, but like the two previous versions of the conference, will definitely help promote or reach out to the participants when you have the information of the next Behavior conference. Also, I would, as Irmeli has mentioned, ADEM gave a lot of support in the conference organization. You have seen quite a few events and also presentations from ADEM. They are also the ENR presidency, and they help organize also the inviting the EU and the European Commission speakers. That's also a great help in the process. And our next speaker will be Ms. Gabriela Prata. Actually, Gabriela is my supervisor in a lot of time. When we work on this Behaviour conference, it's when externally I need some help or decision, I go to Irmeli. When internally it's mainly Gabriela. Gabriela is the head of business models and market strategy as the UNEP-DTU partnership and the acting head of the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. Before coming to Copenhagen, she worked at ADINA, the Portuguese National Energy Agency, where she was coordinating director with the responsibility for implementation of energy efficiency policies in Portugal. Before that, she also worked as an energy charter. Gabriela, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Xianli, and very good to be here again. I just have a couple of points. It's unbelievable. We are already here at the end of this sixth Behave conference, and the good news I would like to share first is that the conference will keep on living, not only because we have the opportunity, as you've heard before, the authors that have presented in the conference have the opportunity to submit their papers to the energy policy special issue, but also that we are just launching at the moment the conference proceedings. So for memory, for the next time to come, if you want to refer back to some presentations, papers, authors, etc., please feel free to have a look into the conference proceedings that are free and available from our knowledge management system of the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency, and I'm sure the ENR team will also be helpful in disseminating this publication. I mean, we are quite happy with the outcome of this conference, and in the proceedings you can see 2 full papers. Then you have another 12 sections that reflect the content of the conference, translated into 70 abstracts. And we hope that this will be guiding and a reference for future users and researchers and all the people that have some curiosity around behavior change and energy efficiency. So yeah, I will just now move on also to the concluding remarks of this, and of course after Steve and Irmeli, it's hard to find something else to say and to add. This was for us also a journey at the Copenhagen Center. The idea to think of helping out organizing the Behave conference of this edition of the Behave conference came up in a discussion I was having one day with Xianli about the importance of behavior change and what we could do in order to help motivate the adoption of social sciences and behavioral economics in developing countries where we focus most of our activity. And we actually had this curiosity and need to keep on and being more engaged in this topic. And one of the ways we found was, why not reach out back to all the friends, at least from my side, and see again some familiar faces. I was very happy to see so many people in this conference that I haven't seen already for some time, and try to learn what has been happening along the way, and what are the main issues, the main topics that have been being addressed and then analyzed and researched, so that we could try to learn and replicate in our daily work with developing countries and emerging economies. So for us, this was also a learning experience, and also very good to be involved with the best of the best that we can see in this topic. So congratulations to everybody, and thank you very much for all the contributions in terms of content and analysis and topics that you've raised to our attention. Of course, we all know this was an unusual conference. We are very sorry not to being able to meet everybody in person. It would have been great. But nevertheless, I think we can claim that we've broken some barriers and some records in this edition. We had a huge registration avalanche when we started disseminating it over with a vigorous effort over the last weeks. So it was a bit even overwhelming, the amount of interest that the conference raised. And then, of course, we had 29 sessions and more than 100 speakers that came in. So it was really, for us, very rewarding to see the interest and the amount of effort put by all the colleagues, moderators, speakers, researchers, that even the industry we had with us, the Danish industry, they were with us yesterday. So it was really rewarding to see the interest that this topic could raise and try to learn and to see how we could, like Mark Radka was saying in the opening session, make energy efficiency irresistible, and let's do something to influence how this could be taken faster and in a bigger scale. But of course, not any of this could have been possible without the support of a very large team. And I would like to now move on to the thank you. And really, this is really a heartful thank you to all the scientific committee members that put a lot of effort helping out to select the best papers and the most valuable to the discussion. All the organizing committee, and of course here I would like to highlight all the support and the good encouragement from Irmeli and the Motiva team, and of course Adem and Irina Dupuy, that they have been incredible, and they were like Xianli has said, they were like our colleagues next in the office next door. So it was really a heartfelt thank you for all the support that you have given us along this journey in this bumpy road coming up to this day. And then, of course, I would like to thank all my colleagues that were supporting the whole conference, that you could hardly see them, but they were there. And they work also quite a lot. I would like to mention, of course, Xianli, that was heading the overall organization of the conference. And then she was really super, and then she was never tired. She was always on the topic, and thank you very much, Xianli, for all the efforts. And of course, then we have all the team that was supporting us on the technical issues. And I would like to say the names. It's Aris, Begonia, Thibaut, Pia, Thomas, Raul. And then on the comms team also, Lasse, Mona, and Mette-Anneli. They were really great, and thank you very much for all the support that you have given. And I think we can say that we are pretty happy with the results. Of course, we have seen that this is sometimes is not easy. There are a few hiccups, but I think we managed to cover and to have a good outcome all in all. And I think we managed to deliver the message, share our ideas and content. And I think we could now, I'm sorry, it's 2:00 in the afternoon here. I don't have my red wine glass with me yet, but I will soon do it. And I would like to make a toast to everybody. I look forward to further discussions and the continuation of the Behave conference. Cheers. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Gabriela, for the concluding remarks. I just want to add that our technical team, really, through this conference, we collect a lot of information the experts spell, photo, and abstract. Also presentations and recording. Maybe you do not realize actually our technical team recorded the whole conference. So with all the, of course, we need the permission from all the authors, the presenters. With their permission, we'll publish all this information online. And from the right, you can see already the link for download the conference proceedings. And in the next week, of course, so many hours of recording, we need some time to process. We'll keep all this uploaded. So because many people, some participants, they are based in other time zones, or we have 3 or sometimes even 4 parallel sessions. People may have some sessions they would very much to follow, attend, but unable to. So for that purpose, we will keep all this information online with the permission of the authors and the presenters. So the conference is still online for some time. So if you need any information, come back. We will, you can find more information about the conference. Thank you. With that, Irmeli, do you want to say anything? Add anything? Or Gabriela? Or Sia? Do you want to add anything?
Well, maybe I just want to thank you all again. And I think Sea's speech was very inspirational, and she also presented that we still have so many challenges ahead of us. So we need a few more Behave conferences to collaborate on, and I hope we'll find an organization to host the conference, and please be in touch with us, and we'll see you. Saya already offered to have it in her eco village in the New Zealand. We can easily, of course, go there, at least virtually, some of us. But yes. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. See, do you want to say something? Now we all want to go to New Zealand.
I know. It is paradise, I have to say. And now even the science agrees, and the statistics. So yeah, hopefully we can do it one day, in a way that is not super climate destroying. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Xianli, just one thing, if anybody is interested in reaching out to us to listen what we have to say about the organization of the Behave conference, please feel free to reach out either to me or Xianli or the team. So we are happy to share our experience and then guide you as well. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot, Gabriela. I also want to add, for Copenhagen Center, we work on energy efficiency, and our mandate is a lot about application, how to help the developing countries work with the governments, help them really reduce save energy, at least reduce the wasteful use of unnecessary use of energy. So although this conference will close soon, but our work on this topic will continue. We do hope for more opportunities, especially in the area of guidance or good practices to share with the countries, because there are really a lot of, in those countries, also during the conference, a lot of the existing projects are in the developed world. The developing countries, they face a lot of challenges, and they need something like nudging, cheap and easy to do. And we need such kind of how to do it properly and how to do it effectively to reduce the unnecessary wasteful use of the energy for those people and also for our planet. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. With that, I will close this conference, and I hope to look forward to see you at other occasions and very soon. Thank you. Bye.